Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you are keeping well. My name is Priyajit Debsarkar. I am connecting live now from London, UK. Today we welcome you to the first ever webinar of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman 2020. This event has started from the 15th of August and it will go until the 29th of August. The title of the webinar is The Greatest Bengali of All Time, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, as it was conducted by a BBC survey. And this specific webinar is organized by the Bangladesh History Olympiad National Committee and in association with a non-profit organization, Mukto Asher. It is a collection of 21 renowned professors, writers, human rights activists, researchers from 8 different countries. Probably the first time in the history of Bangladesh that we have speakers not only from Bangladesh but from Canada, India, Nepal, Pakistan, Peru, United States, and the United Kingdom, who will deliver their articles and their deliberations on Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. We also would like to thank our co-organizers like Swapno Ekattor, London's 1971, Sinu, Baloch Lab, Dhaka University Research Society. Today is the 9th day of the webinar series and the 13th session. Today we have a very special guest. Our honorable speaker today is Nawab Mehran Mari. Mehran Mari hails from Balochistan, the restive province of Pakistan, and he has a distinguished political career. Apart from that, he's a human rights activist, a novelist, and above all, a beacon of freedom and hope for the entire subcontinent. He is also the son of the legendary Baloch nationalist leader Khan Khair Bakhsh Mari, who actually won the 1970 elections, and he actually traveled to Dhaka as well before the National Assembly was scrapped. So he has a family background, to the history of 1971 Bangladesh and Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. He's going to speak briefly about Sheikh Mujibur Rahman first, and then he's going to deliberate on his article, Bangabandhu, Bangladesh and Balochistan. The format of the show will be that after the deliberation, we'll try to ask a few questions from the audience, and if there is any closing remarks. So thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate you coming on board, and you can begin, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vijit, for inviting me to speak on the sarcastic occasion of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman was an inspiration to the Baloch nationalist movement, and he was a beacon that proved that yes, the Pakistani Punjabis can be defeated and liberation can be achieved. I think that's all that I would like to introduce. He needs no introduction, and he was a brave and a great man, and you are blessed to have him as your leader. On August 11, 1947, 3 days before the 2 wings of Pakistan were carved out of India as an Islamic state, Balochistan became an independent country as the state of Kalat. Adjoining Kalat was a territory of British Balochistan, comprising of the Murray and Bukti areas, where they positioned to join the new country. The New York Times on August 15, 1947, reported that Pakistan recognized the independence of Kalat in the map of the Indian subcontinent on its front page. Even before the formal recognition of Balochistan, Kalat, as an independent, the founder of Pakistan, M.A. Jinnah, was a lawyer of the rulers of Balochistan, who was paid for his weight in gold to negotiate on behalf of the Baloch for their independent status with the departing British. However, the same M.A. Jinnah, as the Governor General of Pakistan in March 1948, invaded Kalat and annexed Balochistan by military force and has been the occupier for the last 73 years. The occupation of Balochistan has resulted in many armed uprisings, the first in 1948 and then later in 1956, when the so-called province of Pakistan was merged into one West Pakistan, ruled from Lahore, in an attempt to offset the overwhelming majority in the parliament of Bangla-speaking East Pakistanis, thus eliminating the concept of one person, one vote, the very foundation of democracy. During these dark days of Balochistan, we could always rely on the political parties of then East Pakistan, namely Awami League of Sheikh Mujib and the National Awami Party of Professor Muzaffar Ahmad of Komila, and then student wing of EPSU led by Miss Motia Chaudhry, who was known in Balochistan and the rest of West Pakistan as Agni Kona, or the tongue of fire. I was not born at the time, but my father, the late Nawab Khair was an ardent supporter of the Bangladesh struggle after the March 1971 massacre at the Dhaka University, or what he knew as the Daksu, as a tree that was uprooted by the butchers of the Pakistani army. During this time, there was another uprising in Balochistan, led by Shero Murray, also known as General Sherov, and his band of freedom fighters. For us, the liberation war fought by the Mukti Bani was an inspiration, and the freedom of Bangladesh was celebrated, giving us hope that Sheikh Mujib's long struggle may lead to our freedom as well one day. Here, I would like to share the story that few know or have reported on. On the day Pakistan surrendered to the Mukti Bani and the Indian Army at the Rama Racecourse Garden in Dhaka on December 16, 1971, a secret conclave was held in London, where the Bangladesh Foreign Minister in exile, Abdus Samad Azad, met with some Baloch exiled nationalist leaders, floating the idea that they launch a liberation struggle against Pakistan with Indian help. Among those contacted was my late father, Nawab Khair the charismatic leader of the Bukti people, Nawab Akbar Khan Bukti, Sardar Ataullah Mengal, who went on to become the first chief minister of Balochistan until he was deposed in 1973 by the military-backed Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, who would later try to decimate the Baloch in a bloody 4-year war. The Indian magazine The Wire reports that talks did not go further because Indian Prime Minister Indira Gandhi declared a unilateral ceasefire on the Western Front on December 17th, which I feel was a hasty and uncalled for gesture that let Pakistani war criminals escape into the safety of Indian POW camps that housed 93,000 Pakistanis. Later on, to Pakistan, these very murderous maniacs of the Pakistani army were let loose on Balochistan. Had Prime Minister Indira Gandhi continued to act on the western front of Pakistan's Punjab and waited for the final act of Pakistani surrender in the west, both the issues of Pakistan occupied Balochistan, Pakistan occupied Kashmir, and Gilgit Baltistan would have won their freedom from the tyranny that we faced for the last 50 years. Having said that, we the Baloch take great inspiration from Bangladesh and Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, from his sacrifices and courage in standing up to those who look down on him. Today, his daughter has shown the path to the developing world that Bengal is on the rise as the most progressive, liberal, and secular country in the Muslim world, despite the machinations of the ISI. In conclusion, God bless Bangladesh and may God bless Balochistan. I thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your very short but precise, deliberation on Bangladesh and Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. We got a few questions. We got some comments which I'll come to in a bit. I've got one question from a gentleman called Vinod Subramaniam. Most likely he's from India. I will just read it out to you and would like your opinion. He's saying, Adab Janab, what can be done diplomatically and otherwise to counter the atrocities being perpetrated on the friendly people of Balochistan by the cowardly Pakistani army? What help can India provide to highlight the issues and the causes in Balochistan? So that is one question.
Sure.
There will be a few more probably.
I mean, India being the superpower in its own right and regional superpower, especially, it has a obligation as such a large power in the region to address the Balochistan issue, and especially on the international forums, be it the United Nations or other international human rights organizations where India has its influence, and with the major powers like the United States and the European Union. It should use its influence to highlight the cause of the Baloch people and the atrocities committed by the coward Pakistani military. As recently as a few days ago, a young boy, Hayat Baloch, was shot 8 times. He was a university student. So he, I believe, is the George Floyd of Balochistan, where he was killed for no reason, just because the fascist, racist Punjabi army believes it can do so and get away with it. So just highlighting the cause of Balochistan in the international forums would be a great start from the Indian side.
Thank you very much, sir. I've got another question from a distinguished gentleman, Mr. Masim Ahmed. He says that he himself is a freedom fighter of the Liberation War of 1971, and he says that he salutes you, and he asks that what can be done from the freedom of Balochistan. Maybe if you want to uh, deliberate on what can be done from Bangladesh and the people, outside India, as to what do you think your opinion would be, please.
Uh, since I was young, I always was shocked and surprised that surprising the Bangladeshi people or the my generation who were born right after the war know very little about even the Bangladeshi struggle, the Mukti Bani struggle for the independence from Pakistan. So I would really want Bangladesh or the young generation of the Bangladeshis to please do a bit of research in their own history. And then, of course, once they know their own background, our background is the same. Baloch and the Bangladeshis were the same. We're people from the same country. So I think they are, as I said, they're blessed to have the liberation or the freedom, and they should really try to help us out and gain ours.
Okay. We've got a few other comments like just congratulating you. There's a lady, Nasrin Jabib, saying that, a contemporary one, great initiative. I have got one question specific is when we talk about Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, he actually single handedly, denounced the founding principles of the two nation theory, the foundation on which, the state of Pakistan came into being. How do you see his role and what do you think can be incorporated in the future of Balochistan? What are the fundamentals which we need to address, to make this going forward? Thank you.
The two nation theory was a blunder of the British and then facilitated by the Pakistani Punjabis and Jinnah being the front man of it. It was the destruction and the demoralization of all the Muslims of the world. If there was no two nation theory, I think Muslims would be a superpower in the world now. It was the fragmentation of the Muslim world. So I think everybody's a victim of the two nation theory except the Pakistani Punjabis. The mercenaries of the British gained the country. Until today, you can see the Pakistani army has a country for itself, and they are reaping the rewards of this destruction of the Muslim world. And sadly, the OIC and other Muslim countries are feeding this monster and fattening them so it can even cause more damage to our religion and the name of Islam. But Sheikh Mujib's theory, why we all salute it, of course, that the dignity of mankind is when you preserve your identity, which is your language, your culture, your food, your cuisine, your basic things. This is where the dignity comes in. And what uh, Pakistani Punjabis try to do, they try to assimilate us into this melting pot of nothing called Pakistan, land of the pure. This rubbish that they believe and they wanted us to spoon feed us and make us believe the land of the pure, this land of uh, the conniving dirty. I don't think anybody, my father once said, was like living in Pakistan is like living in a very bad place. I don't want to repeat his words, but he said it's a dirty place to be in. And of course, you need nationalist leaders like Sheikh Mujib to get their nation's dignity back and get their people out of the quicksand of evil, like he did from Pakistan.
Thank you very much, sir. I think we are coming to a close of your speech. So, would like any final comments, and if you wish to say something to the organizers like Bangladesh History Olympiad. This is all done by the students of Dhaka University, very young, energetic, and very compassionate people who love the idea of freedom and multiple pluralism. So any final comments will be much
Sure.
welcome. Thank you, sir.
No, heartfelt thanks to all the organizers. I think it's a great attempt and a very good format how they've done it. And I've heard some of the speeches before me. The whole format has been very lax, and people can really speak their mind. And they brought people from all different backgrounds, so you get perspective from all sides, not only from Bengalis, from Baloch, from Mahajers, from other ethnic nationalities of the region. But thank you very much, and please keep up the good work. And we hope to have these seminars more frequently in the future.
So
Thank you
just
once
before,
again.
yeah, sorry, just before you go, I would like to invite you for the closing ceremony, which is next Saturday, 29th. I know that you're extremely busy, but if you are in London, we would really like you to participate in the event. Once again, I really thank you for your time, and I hope that one day Balochistan, uh, gets the way Bangladesh, saw in 1971. So,
Inshallah.
thank you very much,
Inshallah.
sir.
Thank you
Thank you.
very much, Richard.
Thank you.
Bye
Bye.
bye. Bye.